Welcome to Margin Business Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. In today's episode, we have Christina. Christina is a copywriter and a brand owner, and she has her own company called Copy by Christina. Welcome, Christina. One more thing. If you like the content, please hit the subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. Thank you so much and enjoy. So let's jump right into it. So Christina, where are you located at the moment? And tell us a little bit about yourself from the beginning, from childhood. I'm sure we can find something special along the way. So
Sure. So I'm actually in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, but I grew up in Ontario. So it's the capital of Canada.
Okay.
I grew up in Ottawa area. So I've lived in Calgary now roughly 10 or 12 years. I really like it out here. There's mountains. It's really beautiful. Okay. And in terms of childhood, something interesting about me is I'm actually adopted. I was adopted at the age of 3, and I have a really special relationship with my family, of course. Okay. That would be, sum up my childhood. I had a really great childhood and feel really fortunate. And from that point, I guess, I went through high school and education, things like that. And I had always kind of felt like I wasn't really living to my own potential, like something was missing. And it happened a lot in school, or it happened at a lot of the jobs that I would, be working in.
Okay.
And it wasn't until I turned 40 that I really realized that, I was in the driver's seat of my own life and my own decisions, and I had to really take action. And that's kind of what propelled me to get started in Amazon.
Okay. Sounds good. So just from the beginning, Canada map is like Ontario's on the east side. Calgary is on the west side, right? So Calgary, where the Olympic Games at and everything. I mean, these 2 points is like, wow, it's like 3 hours flight from each other, right?
Roughly 3.5, 4 hour flight. Yeah, but you're right. Basically, it's opposite ends of the country almost.
Okay.
Ontario is a little bit more central, but we still consider it east.
Okay.
And I love both provinces equally. I've been really happy in both areas. So
okay. So you grew up in Ontario, you said, right?
Yep.
So right. How was the early life in Ontario? I mean, from school, for example, when the school time, did you go to to normal school in the city of Ontario, or was it more outside? So you were a city kid, or you were in the outskirts of Ontario?
Right. I actually grew up in Northern Ontario in a smaller town called Sudbury. Okay. So it's quite a bit smaller. It's not really a big city. I was really fortunate. I grew up on a lake and I lived kind of that lifestyle. Wow. I had challenges mostly in school growing up. They weren't sure if I maybe had a learning disability, but I had a lot of like normal challenges that children face. Okay. And I seem to kind of overcome those as I get older and get into university. But school was difficult for me. It wasn't naturally easy, some of these things.
Okay. So was there anything where you can think about like, okay, there you were really good? But
I think, there's two things that I was really good at. Was I was a creative thinker. But I didn't see that because I maybe lacked a little bit of confidence when I was younger. So I didn't hone in on it, and I didn't know how to define that or use it to my advantage. And then something else, it's funny talking about ourselves. I don't want to sound egotistical at all. I'm really not, but I've always had a natural ability to care about people, and connecting with people has been, part of my personality since I was very little. So, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting because, there you can see already, we're getting already there, So these were the first 4-6 years of your school, then high school as well, Ontario, right?
Yep. High school was in Ontario. By that point, I moved to the bigger city that was Ottawa. Okay. So I was kind of transitioning into being kind of a city girl. And Ottawa was a beautiful city. I had a really great experience there. I was still kind of struggling in school and academics, but I was very resilient. I think I was just determined to push through. So that did help me a little.
Okay, that sounds good. We have a good base here. So moving on in your earlier school life, is there? I mean, were you already in contact with any types of, business, or your family background? Was there anything?
Ironically enough, both my parents worked for the same company for like 35 years. It's called
Wow.
Bell Canada Telecommunications. Back then you kind of get into one job and you stay.
Yes.
And my dad retired when I was in grade 6. So he was just living the retirement life, really enjoying that. But my mom was really, she was kind of the main workforce in my life. And I just really remember looking up to her for that. Like, she was very business orientated. She knew how to deal with people. And so I think she was a really great role model, even though maybe I wasn't as confident, So, yeah.
Yeah. So back then the problem was, when you had it's not like today where it's a bit different. Back then when you had a job, and although you were able to, you had it in you, most of the people were thinking more like, okay, I'd rather stick with the job, and then, we just finish that and it's all good. It's not today's environment is much more, rapid than and before they thought more of security of, I call it always pseudo security, because nothing is really secure, but still, and that's, I think, that goes for this generation most of the times,
True.
So there was this entrepreneurial spirit already in the family. So when you moved on after high school, did you study? Did you go to university or?
I did. I've always had a passion for psychology. So I actually entered psychology program. I got a scholarship. I had honors. Even though I had struggled with learning disabilities, I was very resilient even back then. But the issue was I got into school very young, as many of us do. And I found myself kind of questioning just external factors like travel and life experience. I felt like I had been really sheltered. Okay. And so I did drop out of school, and I went and lived in the mountains. I moved out to Jasper, which is a few hours away from Calgary. And that's how I kind of got into living into Western Canada. And so when I lived in Jasper, it was a complete 360. I lived a very outdoor lifestyle. I did backcountry camping, backcountry skiing, like completely different from the city. And I kind of shelved the education because I just wasn't sure what I was going to do with a psychology degree. The truth is, unless you're going to teach, me being a psychologist wasn't really practical. That just wasn't something I really wanted to do, even though I was interested. So yeah, I traveled for a couple of years, and I eventually moved back to Ontario, and I started bartending and I started making really good money at a really young age. Bartenders do really well. So that's what I did for a few years until I was hired on as a flight attendant. So yeah.
That was about when you stopped school, 95, 96, something like that?
Gosh, you're making me really think. It was later than that. It was around 2000. Yeah. Yeah. I remember because my first year at university, it was 1999, and we were all like partying on New Year's for 1999. Yeah.
So yeah. When you say early to school as a child, what was early? Because for me, it was quite late, when I went to school, but right. School system is a bit different sometimes as in these years. So for me, it was like at 7 the first time, which is pretty late, I would say.
Right. Do you mean for post-secondary?
For first, I think for first grade. Yeah.
Oh gosh. I think you're right. I think it's around that age, but I was also a year young. I went into school, a year earlier than most of my friends. So I think that was another reason why I struggled a little bit, was I was younger, right? So yeah.
That's always a fact with the children, when they go too early, then it's always good to let them enjoy their time, as children as well. So when you moved out, when you finished the psychology degree, you went then, you said you traveled a little bit and everything, and then you got hired, or you applied for a job as flight attendant, right?
That's right. So I actually didn't finish my psychology degree.
Oh, okay.
I didn't actually go back. But after I was bartending for a few years, I had kind of moved around a little bit and traveled. I came back out west, and I had heard of this airline called WestJet. And at the time, they're a startup airline. They're very unique, and they were very well known for their culture within their organization.
Okay.
And, they cared for their people in a unique way. I don't know how to describe it. It's not like any other company I've ever been a part of, but they really cared for their people. So I randomly applied online, and it was very hard to get in. Like, they would get thousands of applicants,
Okay.
but even back then, I could write creatively. So when I wrote the application, there was a question, something like, "Why do you want to join WestJet?" And my response was, "Why not?" Or just things that were different, right? And so that landed me the interview, and that's how I got my position. Yeah.
That's quite interesting, because
Yeah.
normally I remember I think I applied as well. I applied for Lufthansa
Nice.
back then. I
Yeah.
passed the test, actually. That's why I can relate to what you went through, and
Yeah.
it's pretty hard. It's very hard to
Very difficult.
actually do it. So it was random for me as well. I just applied, and they invited me for an interview. Afterwards, we didn't go through because it was for ground office job or something, and really I'm happy that it didn't work out.
Yeah.
But just to say, I know how hard the questions are. It's not random questions.
No, there was multiple interviews. It wasn't. I think people misunderstand the career of a flight attendant. It's the testing that you go through is extremely extensive. So it's not to be taken lightly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I really wanted to point out, because it's like you said, most of the people think it's easy, ground or flight attendant stuff is very, very hard to go through. I even remember some military tests. I think these turning around what was it? Triangles, find the point, and then you have 15 dots and all that, some kind of psychological tests, for.
Right. That would maybe be more on what you're talking about, ground school, or for pilots. We had a lot of safety regulated tests from the government, and if you fail one test, you don't have an opportunity again. You have one repeat throughout the whole course. And if you fail two, you're done. So it was harder than my university exams. And I think people don't know that about flying. Yeah. And we have a wide, very diverse workforce. We have doctors, nurses, lawyers, all different types of people. And they will tell you the same thing, that it's extremely challenging and it's very stressful. So when you make it out of that, it's a really big deal. It's very rewarding.
I can imagine. I mean, I'm flying a lot, or we are the whole family flying a lot. And it's we see the ladies, when they as well the men who is flight attendants, and when they make I don't know, 20 hours flights or 18-hour flights, it's exhausting. I mean, I'm sleeping and they're still running around, and then I'm sleeping again and they're still running around, and it's like, okay, when are they sleeping? It's I'm always I try to be very careful with them, and and don't get on their nerves, or order a glass of water straight away before we even left the position. It's like, okay, they're really I really respect this job. It's amazing. It's really it's something special, something really special. So do you and this was the main company you were working for, right? The West, I forgot the name already.
WestJet. Yeah.
WestJet, yeah. WestJet, but I'd never heard of them. Are they only flying in Canada, or?
We've expanded. We started just flying in Canada, but we now fly internationally. Okay. I've spoken about this before, but what's happened in aviation with COVID is very sad. And in Canada in particular, it's been devastating to our airline. So yes, we fly internationally, but having said that, a lot of our routes have been cut just with COVID. So I'm hopeful, I'm optimistic for, a good rebound, but I think it's going to take some time.
Okay, I think so as well. You know, there is, you know, from what I see, there is destinations from where you can fly usual prices, and there's other destinations where the prices are quadrupled, you know, to some destination, which is completely crazy. So for us, it's not a problem. We can just cross into another country and then take the plane somewhere else. But some people cannot, so they need to fly from that specific countries, you know, which is completely overpriced at the moment. So yeah, I can see the trend as well, and the longer it takes, the more expensive it gets, you know. So I'm not sure where we're gonna heading with this, but hopefully everything will, you know, get a little bit, you know, slow down, and everyone can get back to their jobs, because I'm sure some of the, for example, as a flight attendant, what I was thinking. Not you, because you mentioned you have a writing career, you have you have already some you spent some time studying psychology, so I don't think that you're very concerned about this. But there must be other flight attendants. Imagine you worked 30 years in a job, okay? You don't have family because you dedicated to your job. You were flying around, and suddenly COVID hit, okay? And you're one of the major companies which said, okay, listen, we need to get rid of you all for the moment. And you sit suddenly after 30 years at home, have nobody, all your friends are around the world, everyone is stuck at home. So I can imagine it must be terrible, you know. You really need to question yourself, what's going on, you know.
I feel the same way. I see some flight attendants who are single parents and have no family, and it's difficult. So yeah,
it must be very difficult. But for you now, obviously you are the next step of your story would be then that obviously COVID helped you in some kind of way, if I understood this correctly, right?
A little bit, yeah. So I began selling on Amazon last year, and you know, people who know me are surprised that I started a business, because I think I didn't have outward confidence. I had this feeling like I was missing something, but I didn't outwardly show that I thought I was capable at the same time. So I started this Amazon business. I own a beauty brand, and that business did very well. I put a lot of hours into it and a lot of time, and it took off. And then when COVID hit, I was furloughed from flying, and I had to reevaluate again, like, you know, what am I going to do? And it was presented at the time from somebody who just made me think about, what are you good at? And of course, you know, I came back and said, well, I'm not good at anything, because I think that was the old me. I was so used to just downplaying my skill set or just saying I wasn't good at things. And then I came back and I really thought about it again. And I casually mentioned that I could write. And then my business just kind of took off from there. I began writing. I've entered, you know, sales copy courses. I've entered Amazon listing creation courses, content writing courses, and things have just snowballed from there. So my writing business has taken off, and at the same time, I'm still scaling my beauty brand. So yeah.
Okay. So it began actually with Amazon, where you started selling. So you told yourself when you were a flight attendant, okay, let's do something here, you know, right?
That's right.
So and then you created the brand. You created the brand, or you created first just a product to move on. How did you get into that?
I actually went about it in terms of brand building. I mean, I selected a product, and I did it a little bit backwards because of just lack of experience. I selected a product and I kind of built my brand around that product.
Okay.
But then once things started evolving, I realized that, you know, brand building was really the way I wanted to go on Amazon. So it kind of transitioned from that point. But yes, I started with a product. I'd say.
It was not like the ultimate plan where you say, okay,
no.
you know, okay, but you know, it's good, because that's the thing. What makes this spirit, you know, to when you have a product, suddenly you realize, oh look, listen, there can be more. It's you know, we can do something on top of it, combined with your skill set that you have. It's something which is really good together, you know. It's a passion. It's something where you really stand behind. You can build a community. You can really be into it. I think it's really something perfect, you know. Although I'm always, when I hear beauty or creams, I'm like, oh, okay, please.
Yeah. I don't sell cosmetics, so
Okay.
it's very different for me.
Okay.
And I avoided cosmetics because, you know, as a first time,
Exactly.
I guess, seller, I was nervous about the regulations and things
Yeah.
like that. You know, you have to be careful and really be well informed. So yeah, I don't sell cosmetics. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah. So at the moment, you're still doing your Amazon business, and you moving as well, or you moved as well at the same time. It was at the same time you did the copywriting, or did it come after Amazon?
It came after Amazon, right at the pivot of COVID, or at the point of COVID really happening. And it was because I was furloughed from flying, like laid off.
Okay.
So I knew, in order to scale my brand, you know, I'm very transparent. I didn't start Amazon with a lot of money. And in order to scale my brand and grow, I needed capital to be reinvesting.
Yeah.
And so while I could stay, you know, on furlough and gain, you know, a base salary, I still needed income in order to really take my brand to the next level. So that's basically how writing began. And then I also, just in the process of that, realized how much I enjoy writing. It's kind of a crazy transition of how I really found out, like, yes, this is a skill set, but I also love it at the same time. So yeah, I'm still moving my beauty brand forward and writing at the same time now.
Okay. So are you willing to go back to flying if they ever ask you to come back? Because I don't know, are you is the contract finished, or are you still technically employed?
I'm still technically employed, and it's really interesting because when COVID first hit, you know, I hate to say this, but it's true. I was okay with having a few months off from flying because I was tired. It's exhausting. So I had 3 months off, but then I started realizing that it was going to be a lot longer. So the answer is, I don't know. If my business continues the way it is, ideally, this maybe becomes like an agency or something bigger. And at that point, I probably won't return back to flying. So I'm not sure. I'm kind of in the middle right now.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
How many years of flight attendant did you, I mean, how many years did you, was it that you have been a flight attendant?
Yeah, I was in the air for 12, and now I'm on my 13th year. So it's just crazy. Yeah.
That's as well a quite long experience, and
yeah.
You know, contacts and everything. So do you think there's any possibility that you might can connect with the brand? I mean, with the maybe even write for them, you know? I mean, there is, especially when you, after 13 years and they took you, or because as well of your writing skill set, when you did the test, that there is something maybe as well on this side, you know, this will be as well something perfect, you know?
Right. You know, that's an interesting question. More recently, I've started thinking about applying for larger companies as a content or copywriter, and that's because of LinkedIn. I get a lot of people inquiring about services, so I'm not opposed to it. Possibly, if the stars lined up that way, it would be interesting.
Okay. You know, for me, you are the best example, you know, because most of the people, when COVID began, everyone was scared. Everyone was completely, I mean, me included, you know, it was new. We didn't know what was coming. Even though we knew we're in the internet, we can continue working. There is still concerns obviously everyone had. For you, what was it for you? Is this something you were comfortable with? I mean, you mentioned this before, but it must be as well a little bit of adaptation time for that as well, yeah?
Right. No, I wasn't comfortable. I was scared.
Okay.
But at the same time, I was so used to living my life out of fear as opposed to really doing what I wanted to do. You know, there was about a month or two where I really didn't take action at all. I just kind of was going through the motions of life. And it was kind of at that point that something just changed. And I just made a conscious decision, just like I did in my beauty brand. If like, what life do you want for yourself? Do you want this life? Or do you want to try and propel yourself over in a different direction? And it was literally like overnight. Next thing you know, I'm creating a website and I'm, writing samples and I'm doing all of these things and I'm surprising myself while I'm doing them. I'm just kind of like, oh, I did that. So yeah, I really I took, I'd say a couple months or at least 6 weeks where I didn't do a whole lot. And then something just clicked where I started really taking action.
Okay. So because for me, you're really, it's an example, because most of the people were just saying they were just drowning and going down and, have problems and, everything went negative. But for you, it's, in the worst moment, you thought about creating a business. Okay. Right. I mean, a part of the Amazon sales, Amazon sales, if they're running and you don't feel involved, it's as well a bit frustrating, even though you make money, there's something missing. You need to do something. We're humans. We need to feel useful. Okay. So yeah, it's just amazing because you took this moment, turned it around, and created another opportunity out for you, and created your writing, your copywriting business. This should, right. For me, it's just a perfect moment to do that, and many should take the opportunity and do the same. I mean, there have been plenty of businesses created in this COVID time, but they're all kind of related into COVID. I mean, copywriting, you could have begun at any time. It's not related now to a specific situation, So growing this as well is in that time, because nobody knew at the beginning how big e-commerce is going to be. Mm-hmm. So really, I don't know how you did it, but you took the right moment and did what you had to do. And this is exactly what I tell everyone all the time. Just take the opportunity and just do it. And then you look back now, look how long it is. It's almost a year. I was talking today, I was thinking, it's been almost a year that we're living this way, So if you would have done something at the beginning, now, best example, you have already a business, and this is your business today. Can you tell us a little bit more about your business, a little bit more in detail, and the exact thing, what you're doing and what you could do, and how we can contact you as well, or anyone who is interested to contact you?
Sure. First, if you don't mind, I do want to say too, just to your audience, that, not every day is easy. Like, these are very difficult times. And even though I made a positive decision to take action, I still have days that are challenging as well. And you just have to push through those, right? So in terms of copywriting, so I cater my business mainly to Amazon sellers, and I write Amazon listings, as well as I write a lot of brand blogs for various different software companies in Amazon. And I write, I'm transitioning a little bit to sales copy. I'm doing website copy, email launches, and those things. So I'm kind of in the middle between content writing and copywriting at this point. So yeah, and if you want to reach out to me, I'm very receptive over Instagram, or you can email me or reach me at my website. So.
Okay, sounds good. Question for you, Christina. What does motivate you in general? What is your real motivation to keep going, in general? I mean, in your business, your motivation in general. When you wake up in the morning, what's your motivation?
Right. I know I've had to really think about this, because when I first started, I think the motivation was more about finances, because I was scaling a brand, and it was really more about how can I take my brand to the next level? But as things have really progressed, it's more about personal success, really. As cliche as that might sound, it's really about what can I actually achieve now? That's what I wake up with. And I wake up also with my clients in mind. Even though, I'm writing for many different people in the Amazon space, I really do care about those clients. So I wake up thinking, how can I really over deliver today? Or what can I do that would maybe help a client in their business? Or it's just constantly trying to think of new ways I guess to make sure people are happy with the work and also how I can further my skill or my business.
Yeah, that sounds good, because we always have to, like you already mentioned, we always have to try to put the client first, and to understand how he what how he feels, and what he wants to, what they want to achieve,
Right.
and living this. I mean, I'm sure you're living this as well, myself as well. We're waking up, we're thinking about this, going to sleep, we're thinking about this. I mean, I think like this constantly. I'm trying really to, it's my life, to help others, So it's really, it's a good point, and really, really good. What would be as well your message to anyone now and this time who want to start a business, not generally Amazon, or not, or as well, maybe offline, which
Right.
generally I would not recommend at the moment. But
Right.
if anyone wants to go, and has a good idea, and is very local, and has a good community, why not? What would be your message to them?
My biggest point for people to take home is just to try. Because I lived my whole life not trying. I lived my life turning down opportunity or telling myself I couldn't do things, when there was this person kind of deep down inside wishing that I just said yes. So now I just think it's just about seizing the opportunity and not worrying so much about how perfect it is or the skill set. Like, if you really put the work in, those things will come, but you just need to start. I think it's very simple.
I think it's really good, because just try is the perfect quote already. Sounds good, Christina. I mean, amazing that we could talk together.
Yes.
I learned a lot, and your journey is as well, from through the whole Canadian continent, from being a flight attendant to Amazon seller, same time copywriter. Really amazing story. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. And yeah, hope to speak soon. And I wish you all the best, Christina. Thank you as well in your business. Best of luck. Thank you so much.
Having me. Thank you.
Thank you.